Zebec network continues to be on everybody's minds, but not for organic reasons, because on chain we don't see that many transactions. It seems like the token is being pushed by the centralized exchanges. The question is, how much longer can this rally last? Let's have a look at the data most people are not considering. Now, I've published several videos on Zebec on this channel before. The first one outperformed the average video by quite a bit, so there is a lot of attention on the token. Here's the second video, similar result. Video number 3 was a bit of an outlier, but 4 again performed fine, 5 outperformed. And that's all happening while the price chart doesn't really look that inviting. Zebec initially underperformed, then we got a massive pump, and now we are starting to dump. We went from 0.7 cents to now 0.4 cents, a drop of roughly 40%. Here's that same chart again on a linear scale. Here it's on a logarithmic scale, the ZBCN chart. Here's the same versus Ethereum, and here's the same versus Bitcoin. Now what's interesting, and we tend to see this for many altcoins, is when trading volume is high, the price also tends to be locally high. When trading volume slows down, the price tends to be back to normal. So there is some kind of correlation between the trading volume, the attention on an asset, and its price. If there's a lot of trading happening, it might make sense to rather exit. We have again seen elevated trading volume at the end of May, and now it's coming down. We are back to normal levels. So maybe this is an opportunity to buy. But let's have a look at the on-chain data. So right now we've got 75,740 wallets that hold the Zebec network token on the Solana chain. Since the beginning of the month, the number of first-time traders and recurring traders tends to trend down, very much in line with the trading volume. The number of token transactions is also rather declining. Zebec network started trading in April of 2024, but at the beginning, at least measured in US dollars, the activity was rather low. So the most busy day saw roughly $200,000 worth of trading volume. That then went even lower, but since beginning of the year, the asset is traded much more actively. And again, as per tendency, we want to rather sell when trading volume is high and buy when it's low. For example, here have a look at the 19th of February of this year. Trading volume was very high at the time. And the 19th of February was also when the price was at least locally pretty high. Afterwards, we saw a decline of 55%. Now in this chart, the trading volume is split across different cohorts. So we've got small retail. That's the wallets that have less than $1,000 worth of Zebec. Then we've got medium-sized retail, that's up to $10,000. And we've got large retail, that's up to $100,000. We can also normalize the trading volume to 100% every day. Then we get to this chart over here. It seems like in the early days, it was mainly small retail that traded the token. But now the bigger players are starting to get involved as well. Still, interestingly enough, Zebec is not part of the trending tokens on the Solana chain. Trending is only Fartcoin and Aura, or things like Labubu or the useless token or Housecoin. There are videos on all of those assets on this channel. Feel free to check them out. But really, the trading volume for Zebec happens on the centralized exchanges, right? Have a look at this. This is the spot trading volume. All of those exchanges are centralized. Now, in the last 24 hours, we saw 3 million worth of trading volume on Gate.io. On the perpetual futures, though, we see more trading volume. We saw 12 million. So price discovery for the token, it doesn't happen on chain. It also doesn't happen on the spot market. It all happens on the perpetual futures market, on the levered bets on the price. Now there's always interesting data in the perpetual futures market because perps are 100% player versus player. Some people bet on rising prices, others bet on falling prices, and the delta often gets equaled out via the spot market through financing costs. And have a look at the financing costs of Zebec over time. They tended to be negative most of the time. This is very uncommon. Usually the funding rates are positive on the perpetual futures. In other words, usually the longs have to pay the shorts in order to get more price exposure, to lever up the exposure. But in this case, the vast majority of traders are betting on falling prices. We can also see some kind of correlation between the open interest on Zebec and the Zebec spot price. And the reason probably why we see all of that short interest in Zebec is the tokenomics. The number of circulating Zebec network tokens over time is increasing massively. And if the demand doesn't grow as quickly as the supply, the price should go down. In theory. I'm not sure though if this will happen here, because as we've already established, the price discovery of Zebec does not happen on chain and it does not happen on the spot market. So there's potential for a lot of manipulation by the market makers. If enough people are betting on falling prices and the market makers just buy up a lot of the supply, push up the price, short squeeze the people, thus make profit when people get forced liquidate. This is definitely a possible outcome for Zebec. So while we might go down most of the time, if there's enough people that bet on falling prices, we see a sharp rise to the upside. And that's actually what might have happened at the end of May as well. The price went up so quickly and the funding rates were extremely negative. Everybody was betting on falling prices. So the market makers just went to the centralized exchanges and pushed the price higher. Maybe the centralized exchanges themselves did some coordinated play here. Currently, very short term, we do not see that short overhang anymore. So the market is in balance to a degree. But if enough people again get lured into betting on falling prices because of the tokenomics, we might just see another short squeeze. I very much do believe in the strategy to bet on falling prices, but we want to do this with assets where shorting is not that popular. We want to do this with assets where again the supply increases over time, but the asset is not much on the radar for most people. Doing the popular trade in general is a bad idea because it's only the minority of people that make money in crypto. The vast majority does not. If the majority is positioned in one direction, most of the time it makes sense to move the other direction. Have a look at CoinGlass. Most of those funding rates are positive. There is Bitcoin Cash where it's negative, but most of the time the longs have to pay the shorts. And I do believe that the market is mispricing something here because most of the time altcoins actually underperform Bitcoin. And so we can take advantage of that. We can flip this chart around. This is the performance of smaller altcoins in the last year. Pretty much everything went down. There are a few outperformers, but in general, right? If you can flip this around and everything that's red turns green and everything that's green turns red, wouldn't you take that bet? I think it's a great idea. But again, we want to do this with assets nobody is talking about. We don't necessarily want to do this with an asset with a lot of short interest where there's also a lot of attention on this, right? This video is likely going to also, again, outperform the average video on this channel. There's simply too much attention on Zebec. This market is not retail driven. The institutions buy Bitcoin, the institutions manipulate the smaller altcoins. Instead of betting on rising or falling prices of Zebec that gets massively manipulated, why not bet on something like this? This here is balancer relative to Ethereum. So when this is going down, we can make money. Or we can simply invert the chart, right? This Ethereum relative to balancer. This is our performance if we bet on relative valuations. And again, the reason is pretty much the same, right? It is an expanding token supply, very similar to what we see with Zebec. But for balancer, the trading actually happens on chain. It does not just happen with the centralized exchanges. And the open interest on the perpetual futures is also minuscule. So this is really a spot-driven token. If we have on-chain trading volume and very little attention on something, we've got a short opportunity and we can make very consistent gains. And so, of course, even if you follow a strategy like this, it doesn't mean that every single position is always in profit. But this is currently my trading portfolio. I am, of course, not disclosing the individual positions, but yes, there are a few losers, but in the end, what matters is the overall picture. Whenever you're looking at other communities, check what are the members actually doing. Here, have a look at this. This was the first trade. Thank you, Gerhard. So a lot of people made money. In this case, it was a short on WorldCoin. Because I shorted WorldCoin, a lot of people copy traded that. When you're following a trader, ask them to disclose their long-term performance. So this here is my long-term performance. This is over the last 4 years, roughly, a bit less than that. On the x-axis, we see the monthly tickers. So this is in total 44 months. And had I just dollar cost average into Bitcoin, my performance would have been this gray line. So that's my benchmark. This is what I want to beat. And my performance then is this in black. So it's not just about making US dollar gains, it's about beating waiting, buying and holding Bitcoin. And again, it's not that hard if you're betting on the right tokens to underperform. But again, we don't want to do this where this kind of position is very popular, where the funding rates are negative, where a short squeeze is likely. We want to do this under the radar. We want to do this with assets most people do not think about. And so how to set this all up is explained in various tutorial videos. Feel free to check them out. I of course share my own trades as well. The current price per month is $125 US. If your crypto portfolio is a few $1,000s, not just a few $100s, and if you're in the game for a long time, it's probably going to worth it for you. It's all about the long-term compounding. A link to premium should pop up directly over here. Just click on that. It leads you directly to the page. If it's your very first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish this regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube or see you in premium. Cheers.